this time, Captain Jared Link will present Colonel Rowe with his retirement gift on behalf of the men and women of the Mental Health Flight, 88th Medical Operations Squadron, 88th Medical Group, 88th Air Base Wing. The items chosen for Lieutenant Colonel Rowe's shadow box represent a fraction of the important contributions he's made in his 24 years of dedicated military service. All of the accoutrements and coins represent a significant part of Lieutenant Colonel Rowe's time serving in 4 major commands, including the Pacific Air Forces, Air Force Materiel Command, Air Education and Training Command, and U.S. Central Command. A turning point in Lieutenant Colonel Rowe's life and career occurred when he assumed position of flight commander at Misawa Air Base in Japan. While there, he was forced to hit the ground running, and it was a period of time where he formulated many of the speeches that have garnered him much recognition, including his talks on climate change and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Finally, the flight suit patch represents his time when he truly was Captain Kirk. So it was during his first assignment at Shepherd Air Force Base, where he was part of the Euro-NATO Joint Jet Pilot Training Program. While there, he aided incoming pilots dealing with overwhelming stress and air sickness. As a gift from the final class of clinical psychology residents, the flag within the box was flown over the United States Capitol on the 4th of July, 2017, in honor of your service of 24 years. And finally, an inscription on the plaque reads as follows: Lieutenant Colonel Kirk L. Rowe, in deep appreciation for the training legacy you leave behind and your faithful and dedicated service to Air Force psychology. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Kirk Rowe, United States Air Force, retired.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much. Thank you doesn't really cover it. Thank you very, very much, I guess, would be better. So for the kind words, Dr. Schillinglaw, thank you all for coming. Colonel Silverman, this is your second of 3 today, retirement ceremonies. I hope this has been thrilling so far. Colonel Oberg, thank you for coming. And Colonel Rosso, yeah, thanks for coming. You don't even know me. That's really nice. Appreciate that. So he would have been my supervisor. So thank you, squadron commanders. Colonel Knowles, Colonel Toussaint, Colonel Wong comes from San Antonio. Kevin McCall just moved here. He used to play left field in our softball team in graduate school. Thank you for coming. And then the Reardon show up out of nowhere. Thank you so much. So, and just thinking about all those things that were said, Colonel Poole, she was an English major. That's why I got promoted. I mean, otherwise it just wouldn't have happened. So, and then Steve Burns was an English major too. So, anyway, I just owe you guys everything there. So. And all my family for coming. I mean, my gosh, this place would be empty without you. So thank you for coming from Michigan and Missouri and D.C., Texas. Butch and Deborah and Mark Sweet, thanks for coming down. Uncle Ed, thank you too. And really, Uncle Ed, if he introduced my parents, so this would not be happening if it wasn't for you. So thank you. You go way back. And then Major Ware, man, thank you for all the phone calls for the last few days. This is happening and it's been beautiful. This doesn't happen, just a lot of work going into it. So all the residents, thank you for everything. And Mrs. Perry, thank you for singing, and Richard, and everybody else who helped out, Sergeant Berger, and everybody I'm not aware of, the airmen, Albritton and Barnes, thank you. I was kind of wondering where to start, and I guess I was thinking, for those of you guys who've seen that recruiting video, you know as well as I do that you can't grasp everything by just watching it one time. So I was thinking maybe you just review that one more time. Scott, I heard you gasp. I'm not going to do it. So, all right, I'm not going to do it. So, anyway, I'm just going to take a few minutes just to talk about some of the places and opportunities again for the last 24 years. Again, when we got here, Christina and I, we didn't know if we'd match because we were a couple. And back in the day when you waited for a call on match day, today it's a computer. You just wake up and you see you matched. So you were waiting for the call at 9 o'clock, and if it was 9:01, it was late and you were in trouble. So anyway, it rang at 9. We both had our phones and we picked up, and Major Dobbins, Ken Dobbins, said, "This is Ken Dobbins from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Can I please speak with Christina?" I'm like, "Are you serious?" I mean, that's really, I was happy for her. I mean, I wanted her to match. So, but you know, there was only 5 slots, so it wasn't looking good right there for a second. So, and then they actually found room for me, so that was nice. So we had a great year. Again, Ann Rishko Mullen was on our with one of the 5, and Steve Brown. That was nice. He wrote some nice things. And then Dr. McCall came right behind us the next year. So we had a nice group. Then we went to Shepherd, which, I mean, they have water in Wichita Falls, but why? I'm not sure why people want to live there. So we ended up living there, and then right after that, I went to do the Persian Gulf Project in San Antonio. So we were split up right off the bat there for 6 months. 6 hours away, it was tough. She was getting beat up with a lot of patients, and I was not, and so it was hard. So anyway. But after returning again, getting back and working with the pilots was fun, because working with smart, motivated people is just cool because they get well, and we need that too as providers. We need people to get well and stop coming in all the time. So, I mean, we love patients, but I mean, it's good when people get well. So, and again, my brothers and my sister know how that story ended with the flight. I wanted to learn about the flying environment because I was, helping these guys with their sickness. But have you seen the cockpit? It's the office of the pilot. It's just small. You get in there, and then you have all your stuff, and they keep clamping you in, and if you have any tendency towards claustrophobia, it'll bring it out. And you put a helmet on, and you get to smell some jet fuel from the jet in front of you, and then it's 100 degrees. So when we were up again over Fort Sill, again, we were doing this, and it was just brutal, and so... But I did fly for 5 minutes because it's supposed to help you. When you're in control, it helps you control your air sickness symptoms. But I gave it back to him, and then he was like, "Well, do you want to do anything, like a role or something?" I said, "I'm doing something right now. I'm busy, So it was not. And then it was just, so I said, "Can you just take me down? I've got it, So got to the ground, stumbled to the car, drove halfway across base, stopped, threw up some more, got home, and I was just totally drenched, laying on the floor when Christina came in and kind of broke out laughing. So she got a flight in a T-38, which is supersonic, and mine was like a little sewing machine, T-37. It just barely moves, it just was hard. So, but anyway, so when I was briefing all these Tom Cruise guys, I would say, I can puke and still be a psychologist, I'm not really super motivated about this issue. Where you are, if you keep throwing up, you can't fly. So I can help you, can't really help myself. So, as all those trips to Missouri, I made it 10 hours, but then when we got to the hills, I was in trouble. So. But then again, at Shepherd, sometimes we do exercises where you lay on the concrete or something and mop for gear, for chemical gear, and it's 100 degrees. And I was really reflecting on life at that moment, thinking, should I get out? I mean, I'm 33. What am I doing this for? So, and then a couple weeks later, I got that call to do the neuropsychology fellowship, which again was a big game changer for us. It was just a great 2 years, stressful for sure, but Christina, we got back to Wisconsin, Christina connected with some childhood friends and made some good contacts there, so. And again, Japan was a big change for us. Again, she wanted to go. I was just ticked off about going, because what happened is that I had stayed here 4 years, and I was trying to save the Air Force money by staying 4 more. and so everybody told me I needed a flight command, but I didn't want to do that. There's 75 flight commands. There's 2 training director jobs that are active duty, so I wanted to stay. And so AFPC, our personnel center in San Antonio, said, we're telling you now that it's a bad idea. Write us a note. You're a danger to yourself, and don't come crying to us when you don't get promoted. So I wrote that, and it's somewhere in San Antonio. But anyway, I got promoted barely. But anyway, so, and that's really when we got to Japan, does anybody know what FOMO means? F-O-M-O, it's fear of missing out. And Christina was struck with that really hugely in Japan. So we got us out all the time to everybody, and it was just really awesome. She got us connected with so many people and out and doing so many things. And that's a gift that's kept on giving. We've had numerous Japanese visitors. Christina and Meredith went back a couple of years ago, and we're having some visitors in the fall as well. So you talked about me speaking. I speak up sometimes. So anyway, the one time at Eglin when I was there, and one commander asked me to speak about technology, or actually suicide and relationships and stuff like that. And that was a time in October 2010, we had 6 suicides in 5 days. It was a bad, bad week. It was super bad. And I had this atypical briefing that I was going to do. And again, I had never spoken to 500 people. It was a wing commander's call, 500 people 3 different times in the same day. And the line that kind of traveled well was that I encouraged, the relationship piece is if men could, just kind of see vacuuming as an aphrodisiac, and, maybe that would just help everything. That's funny, people. Come on, that's a funny line, and that's funny. So, and then another one, too, was there's a statistic, again, more the technology stuff and how it's impacting our relationships, is that there's a stat that said that 6% of people interrupt sex to check a text. See, thank you. You've got the right response. Oh, my God. Some of the people over here are thinking, well, if it's important, And that's just the wrong answer. That hurts, So, and so over the next few months, people would just be walking by me in the commissary and just like pretend vacuum. I'm like, okay, you were there too. And I never had that feedback before. It was kind of funny. So, and then Colonel Barlow followed it up when I got here. She had me speak to her commanders about energy for a couple years in a row. And again, it was nice to, it was a little, that's a little out of the box for a neuropsychologist, but she was at least straddling the box or outside it a little bit too. So thank you for your support on that. So when we joined the Air Force, our supervisor said, if you ever deploy, you're going to be thousands of miles away from the front lines, so don't really worry about that, And then 9/11 happened, and things turned out a little differently. So I was scheduled to go to Cuba twice. Both got canceled. I would have worked with the detainees. Supposed to go to Afghanistan twice. Canceled. One was because I had a heart issue pop up. I was going to the airplane, so I had, anyway, my heart wasn't in that one. So, but anyway, so I got surgery and no copay. It was great. So, and then I went to Prince Alton Air Base in 2002, a year after Forrest was born, and then for 5 months in Kyrgyzstan in 2013. And again, both of them were great experiences. Met some people there that, is Joe Thompson here?
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought, yes, he was there with me in Saudi Arabia. And just met some good people and still in contact with a lot of those people. But I remember one time I was seeing a guy in Kyrgyzstan, and he was a special operations guy, and he deployed probably 4 times, and he came into the hospital, and he said, I don't think I can do it. Again, his anxiety was so overwhelming. And so we kept him from going down range, and then right after that is the guilt he felt for not going, so, and that would be a therapy issue for him. And anyway, it was nice to be able to keep him back from going down and getting more intense PTSD. And while I was in Kyrgyzstan, we also had this opportunity to go to the capital city and speak with teenagers and talk to them. They wanted to practice their English and just talk about America, or have an American talk about themselves. Hey, that's fun and easy, right? So that's funny, people. Of course, we like to do that. So anyway, so it was really nice. They just wanted to hear about America and enjoyed listening to us. And again, appreciating all the opportunities that we have here that I think we take for granted sometimes. And they reminded us that was, we just had some great opportunities. A friend of mine in Yellow Springs said, Kirk, I have a friend who's the president of a university in the capital city of Kyrgyzstan. Do you want to meet with him and have lunch or something? And I'm like, sure, that'd be fun. So I met with him and had lunch, and then I got to teach psychology classes when I was there about 5 or 6 times, so that was really pretty cool. So I'm not sure why I'm in the Air Force with the Navy history, and then a couple uncles were in the Army, and so, but I think a lot of people would say join the Air Force, even some Marines would quietly say that. I'm sorry. Anyway, so, but it's been a real pleasure seeing all my, just seeing the patients over the years, and again, coming to work. I love coming to work. It's just a great environment, stimulating, challenging, interesting work with so many interesting people. And sometimes you just have to sit back and listen to these people. Hawaii, December 41. Probably not going to make a big difference in your diagnosis, but I think I'll sit back and listen to this one, just so cool to see with some of these folks. And one of my friends, who's a psychiatrist who helped train us here, she said she got into psychiatry because she loved literature, because she knew she could make a living in literature. She did psychiatry instead because every person is a story. And I'm like, I wish I'd have thought of that. That's so cool. So anyway, I'm totally stealing that, and I told her I was going to say it. So anyway. And about the patients I've cared for over the years, sometimes I had patients that were so complicated. I would bring them in and kind of have them share their story with the whole flight to see if anybody's brain could figure this out, because it was so complex. And I appreciate them doing that, because that can be pretty intense. We have all these mental health types in the room and asking you questions. Also, the blast wave. The first time I saw patients been exposed to that in 2008 in Alaska. That kind of a game changer for me, and also a lot of neuropsychologists and how they look at mild head injury and also what's going on at the pro sport level. So last year I filmed a patient in our hospital with our staff and residents. A whole camera crew came in from public affairs. It's a aphasia patient he was very fluent, but he made no sense. And he was an instructor in the Marines, and he wanted to be able to help with our teaching mission. It was really cool that he did that. One patient 4 years ago, I'll never forget her, she said, I have to think about thinking now, and it pisses me off. It makes me really angry, because I never used to have to think about it. It just happened. Kind of like if we all had to just sit here and think about breathing. It's just, who has time for that, right? So anyway, and that's a lot of my patients feel that way because they've had a bad day in the past. They've had a car wreck or something like that, or a stroke. And she said this to me. She said, every time you give me a test, one of your tests, it's a reminder of who I'm not anymore. So you can't think like you used to. You can't remember it. Erodes at your confidence and your self-concept. And again, we see that every day in my office, and almost every day in my office. So we try to convey that to the residents and to keep that in mind. When I'm testing, I have all the answers and they don't, and it's just 3 feet away. It can be really frustrating. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about our colleagues here. Just have a lot of great folks. I've been sitting in my office watching a lot of great people walk by my office the last few days. Okay, there's another great psychiatrist, and there's another psychologist or social worker, 2 great nurse practitioners, our enlisted crew, our civilian folks. It's just a good place to work. So thanks for making my days at work full of mostly, stimulating fun, full of laughter, sometimes laced with sarcasm, or Dr. Allen, maybe a lot, I don't know. So anyway, so again, we have a good mental health team, and we've had this for a long time here, and it just keeps happening. It's a good place to work, and I've been grateful to have started here and then ended here as well. I don't know if there's any cafeteria people here. Man, we have great food, breakfast and lunch. Anybody work in the cafeteria here? Is anybody here? No, anyway. Oatmeal for $0.25, I always say. Really? I'm losing money if I don't eat here, so we're really grateful of that. So, and to the residents, you're the reason we're here. We have so many, that's why we have many psychologists on staff. Our mission is to train psychologists for the Air Force, and we take great pride in that task. So, Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Dahlmeyer, thank you for coming. Dr. Pools, Brockle, Schillinglaw, Dr. Otati, and Alan Friedman, thank you for helping us do all that we do. I try to get people in the door to see if you can check them out and see if we want to take them, and then we go from there. So Dr. Coots and Dr. Miller, they do all the They do so much work so we can do our thing, the training piece. Dr. RN, I'm so glad you're taking over the training director job. Thank you. It's just a pleasure knowing you for the last 16 years. Major Tisme, are you here? Right. Thank you for coming. Thank you for, it's good to see you again. Dr. Nelson is not here. Dr. Baker, psychiatrist, Dr. Coles, it's just a great team. Lastly, Christina, I mentioned you in my gratitude. Thanks for everything over the years, all you've done for me and the family and everybody else you touch, because you've got magic in that regard. And all the dinners you've provided for everybody. Most of the time when we have a dinner, she puts people's nameplates out, and people just squeal when they see their name. They can't help. They just can't help it. So, one thing about the GRE, I did take it twice, but I didn't study the first time. I didn't know people were prepared. The night before I got there, I'm like, wow, there's books on this. This is cool. I'll take it again later, or something. So, and one thing about the 3-star, and then I'll stop. So I did speak up to the 3-star, and I said, if we need to support people that much, that's a therapy issue for those people. We're getting the wrong people in the Air Force. And so that was the issue. The hospital commander said, therapy issue? The 3-star wants to see you. So, and what had happened is a little bit before that, our flight commander was working with the 3-star's wife, and my father-in-law made a nice pot for her, and she loved pottery. And I said, well, have them come to the house and look at some pottery. And so what I did is I had a mug made for Lieutenant General Reynolds just on the shelf there, just in case they came by. You could say, oh, look at that. That's kind of weird. It's got your name on it, So, but he never came. So we got it to him. And then when I got called to his office, it was on his desk. And it was so cool. I said, do you like your mug? He's like, are you kidding me? Is that from you? I'm like, well, somewhat, And so that kind of broke the ice a little bit. So, and it smoothed out from there. So anyway, so yeah. Anyway, so Christina, thank you again for everything. Kids, love you guys, Marathon Force. Glad you joined us on this journey. Proud of the people you are and the people you're becoming. Bruce and Joyce, thanks for all your help over the years as well. So again, the military is definitely a team sport, team here, team at home, and I think we had a pretty good one both home and away here. So thank you all for coming. Thank you so much. Bye.